I have to say this. I'm a WWE fan, and I have been since 1999. But I'm going to give you my honest opinion about something, and I always say this on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, by the way, at the MyersFan25. Once again, that's at the MyersFan25. I always say this on Twitter. If you want to know what my channel's about, I'm a straight shooter. I shoot straight like an arrow. I do. I just get to the point. Bottom line. You may not always like it. I get to the point, and here it goes. Everyone always talks about how bad the PG era is in wrestling. And don't get me wrong, it is bad. But the Ruthless Aggression era wasn't perfect either. That's right, I said it. The Ruthless Aggression era was not perfect either. I know, I was there. It could be very boring at times. It really can be. Or could be, I should say. It's over now. But it really could be boring at times. I remember when it first started, or technically it didn't start yet until I think John Cena uttered the words, and then that's when they officially deemed it the Ruthless Aggression era. But I remember when it was starting, and it was June 2002, and I think The Rock had done the Monday Night Raw. I think it was June 17th. And the Ruthless Aggression era was about to start. And Rock, he worked the Monday night show. I remember that show. It was June 17th. And Austin had walked out of WWE. And then Rock came back and cut this promo about how if Austin wants to take his ball and go home, he could do that. And then they did the whole get the F out thing. Here's the thing. Everyone talks about how bad the PG era is, but the truth is, it started getting bad way before then. Because the PG era didn't happen until 2008. Let's talk about a few things. Let's start with, I think it happened around May of 2002, where they changed it from WWF to WWE. Now, I know that the letters really don't matter, but it just doesn't sound as good. I agree with the fans when they say it doesn't carry the same weight. Because when I first heard it, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, what the fuck is a WWE? Somebody told me that, and I was like, WWE, what's that? Because they said it's not WWF anymore, it's WWE. That's what everybody in school told me. And I'm like, what the fuck is WWE? What is, I don't know what that is. And then they did this whole thing with get the F out. What? Get the F out? Yeah, that's clever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I watched it because, like I told you, I'm a fan and have been since 1999. So, really, it started getting bad in 2002, after the Attitude Era was over, which the Attitude Era was over in about May of 2002. They were getting ready to start Ruthless Aggression. So, anyway, that was one of the things I didn't like. But before that, it got bad. They did this whole draft bullshit with the WWE draft. What is that about? I was like, why are they splitting up the shows? Guys, I'm telling you, when I was on the school bus, I had to ride the bus because, I'm in a wheelchair and all. You guys know that. But when I was on the bus, the bus aide told me, he was like, WWE, they're going to split it into two different shows. Raw and SmackDown are two different shows. And I didn't say it out loud, but I'm thinking, what the fuck are they doing? What are they doing? Like, first you're calling it WWE. Now you're splitting Raw and SmackDown into two different shows. What? I'm telling you, you guys keep talking about the PG era. It was bad before that. And then, like I said, Rock was gone. He went back to Hollywood. And then we lost Stone Cold. So, it was boring as shit. It's like, well, nobody's here. Who's going to be the next top guy? You got to remember, John Cena wasn't a star yet. So, I mean, even the Ruthless Aggression era sucked at times. The only reason it was even good in the first place was because of John Cena. And I know I gave him a lot of shit in the past. But he's the reason why the Ruthless Aggression era was even good to begin with. And without Cena, I don't think the product would have survived. I don't. Without that whole rap thing, it wouldn't have worked. Because you lost two of your biggest stars. You lost Rock and you lost Austin. I don't care what you say. The fans are not always right. I don't give a fuck, because those are the same fans that hated the invasion angle when that was one of the best angles ever. It was better than the corny ass Ruthless Aggression era. And Cena is the only reason it succeeded to begin with. Cena and Guerrero, they carried the Ruthless Aggression era. John Cena and Eddie Guerrero were the reason that it was successful. Because John, by 2005, John had moved over to Raw. And Eddie was carrying SmackDown as a heel by the summer of 2005. And that shit was white hot. Eddie was a badass heel, man. I was watching the footage a couple of weeks ago and I was cracking up. I always tell you guys, I love a good villain. And Eddie was badass. He really was. He truly was. My hat's off to John Cena and the late great Eddie Guerrero, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you straight up. Because those guys carried the company. Without them, there would have been no more WWE. The shit was going down without Rock and Austin. Straight up. It had The Undertaker and Triple H and Kane, and, that was cool and all, but without Rock and Austin, they're nothing, and they still aren't. Rock and Austin carried WWE. Why do you think when people name the modern wrestlers, who were the first two they pick? Rock and Austin. Austin and Rock. They don't go without naming those guys. And then after Rock and Austin left, Eddie Guerrero and John Cena picked it up and ran with it. I gotta be frank. I gave John a lot of shit. I admit that. But I've grown since then. And I sat back and I thought about it. And I gotta give credit where credit is due. John seems like a really nice man. He really does. And if you're listening to this, bro, I'm not kissing your ass. I'm not that kind of person. I wouldn't do that. But you seem like a really nice guy, and I have to give it to you. You carried this company, you and Eddie. Without the two of you, it would have been nothing in my eyes. Nothing. Because Rock, who's my favorite wrestler, he was already gone. He was gone, and you and Eddie were doing your thing. You were doing your thing over on Raw and over here on SmackDown, which is my territory. I'm saying over here like I'm on SmackDown and shit, but you know what I mean. Over on SmackDown, you know, Eddie was doing his thing as the heel with Rey Mysterio. That was some badass shit. That, you know, Vince was putting out good content with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. That was cool as hell. Summer 2005. But John's gone now and Eddie's gone. So here we are, back to being crap again. I'm a straight shooter. Point blank. That's how I've always been, and it's who I've always been. And without those two, WWE, the product is just horrible. They carried it. Now, Becky Lynch, she's cool and all, you know. I remember one storyline with the Ruthless Aggression era. It took place on October 13, 2006. Where not Eddie Guerrero, excuse me, but Chavo Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were fighting in an I Quit match. And Chavo Guerrero picked up the chair and he was kayfabe beating the shit out of Rey Mysterio's knee, trying to break his knee. And he had him hung upside down. And Rey was like, I quit, I quit, I quit. That was some badass shit. So, you know, Ruthless Aggression was just as bad. They had their cool moments, their attitude-esque moments. But without Cena and Guerrero, man, I'm telling you, there was no WWE. My hat's off to John Cena. And now we really can't see him. And I wish we could. Because we need him. We need you, bro. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic. And I approve this message.